My name is Mark Spielman, and I'm writing this in order to keep any sanity I have left. In order to tell everyone about that girl. I dream about her all the time, and I can't get her face out of my head. Those eyes, that smile. Who is she? Who's Janice? I'm what you would call an indoors type of person. I never go outside much, I just sit by my computer and look for fucked up shit on the internet. I'm well versed on internet memes, YouTube fads, and the best porn sites. Now, I'm not what you would call a porn addict, but when I do watch it, I know where to go. I know the internet inside and out, so when I found out the local police department was looking to hire people with extensive knowledge on the interwebs, I jumped at the opportunity. See, I was one of the many people looking for the job, but as fate would have it, I was the lucky one. The police chief who hired me patted me on the back as I walked into my office and said, "Hope you're ready for this, Mark. There's a lot of crazy shit out there." And all I did was smile and reply, "Believe me, sir. I've seen it all." My job began with basic stuff, mostly just finding various websites that upload child porn and taking them down, along with grabbing the users who were stupid enough to not even use a proxy, and for the first few weeks, it was very mundane work. Then as time went on, things got more interesting. Some people were smart enough to hack into police databases and post different files of murdered victims, confidential cases hidden from the public, that kind of stuff. But by my third month of work, I was dealing with everything from child pornography to extremely clever hackers. The pay could have been somewhat better, but I loved the work. My life was finally starting to have some meaning, even if I was sitting in front of a monitor 24/7, meaning nonetheless. One day, though, the life I was working so hard to build came crashing down. I was browsing the internet as usual, trying to find any sites with child pornography, and I was getting really disturbed by how much of the sick shit was really posted on the internet. It was like battling a hydra, take one site down and then two more take its place. I found a website with a URL called sweet15.com. I thought of what that might mean and I clicked it. What I saw made my heart skip a beat. This was the biggest child porn site I had ever seen, and being the first one to find it, and being able to take it down and find all the sick bastards behind it would make me a hero. Not to mention the insane bonus I would be getting. I could see the dollar signs now. This would be a landmark case. Hundreds would be sent to jail, and I'd be at the head of it. I composed myself and started delving into the website's content. Just one picture or video depicting someone having sexual contact with a child would be enough to get a warrant to locate any user's IP address. The pictures and videos weren't embedded, so I had to click on their links to view the content. I went to a random page and clicked on a random picture titled Kathy.jpg. I looked at the picture. It was a picture of a young girl with long hair and pale skin, about 15 to 16, standing in what appeared to be a dimly lit room with a smile on her face. Not a full toothy smile, but a slight grin. And that was it. Nothing sexual whatsoever. In fact, the girl in the picture seemed rather modestly dressed. Now, I was about to click away from the picture when I noticed the URL. The picture I was on, according to the URL, was not Kathy.jpg. It was another picture file entitled Janice.jpg. And I found that rather odd. I decided to go to another picture, which was titled Susan.jpg, and clicking on it, my happiness at finding the site was fading faster than it came. The picture I clicked on directed me to exactly the same picture as before. I looked at about 15 more and every one of them was the same. I gave up and decided to look at the videos. Clicked on any file, pennyprecious.wave. Not really a video file, but it was just a picture. Janice.jpg. I called a few people into my office and asked them to help me go over more of the files on this website. And at the end of the day, we had all gone over about 1,000-something files. And I had to concede that the website was just a sick joke by some prankster who made a bunch of fake files directed to the same exact picture. I packed my bags and left the office, feeling disappointed. But I also felt something that scared me as I was driving home. A rising sense of panic. As though if I didn't search that site more thoroughly, something terrible would occur. I opened the door to my house and went straight to my PC. I turned it on and went to the site. I went deeper into the website, looking into the source code, trying to find out anything that would lead me to something else. But every file on the site went to the damn picture file. Her face was burned into my skull, and I knew I couldn't sleep until I found out who she was. I went into the deepest log in the site, and I felt like throwing my monitor out the window when my jaw dropped. On the very last page of the picture file logs was a lone picture file called TrueJanice.jpg, and I knew this one had to be different. With sweat trickling down my forehead, I brought my cursor to the link and clicked it. It was essentially the same picture as Janice.jpg, but it was black and white. And when I hovered my mouse over it, I realized that clicking on the picture would direct me to another link. I clicked on it. My browser shut down immediately and my computer crashed, and all that was left on my monitor was the infamous blue screen that signaled certain doom to my hard drive. I cursed and tried to turn it back on, and after a few attempts, I was able to get to my desktop. It was without a doubt the most fucked up virus I had ever encountered. All my programs were deleted and a pop-up box said that 1,000 picture files were being copied to my hard drive. But the thing that made me nervous was my desktop picture. It was Janice.jpg. The black and white photo, something about Janice's facial expression really was different, though. In the regular photo, she appeared to have a slight smile on her face. In this picture, she was frowning. Not out of disappointment, though. I could see something in her eyes, this new expression. Fear. After a pop-up box closed, I went to my pictures to see what had been copied. I started with the first picture, and it was essentially the same one as the original Janice.jpg. I started clicking rapidly to the next few photos. They were basically the same, but I could see one thing that was changing. Her face, which in the first picture was smiling. It had morphed into a frown that I had seen on my desktop, and as I kept clicking more rapidly now, I could see her mouth start to contort into the scream. The pictures were getting darker and darker, and the girl was more horrified. When around 100 pictures in, it faded to black. I clicked a few more times, the same black screen as before, and after a few more clicks, however, there was another picture. A new one. This time it was a picture of a bed, with what appeared to be a bundle with a blanket resting on top of it. The scene was in a dark room with a few candles burning to light it up. I noticed in horror that there were red splotches in the wall behind the bed, which were what I knew had to be blood. I clicked on the next few pictures, and there appeared to be a man walking into the frame. He grabbed the bundle on the bed and yanked a blanket from on top of it. My stomach lurched in fear as I saw the girl, tied to the bed with her stomach ripped open. I couldn't stop clicking to the next picture. I was clicking so rapidly that the picture seemed to be playing in fluidity, like a flipbook. The man who had entered the picture was hunched over the girl now, and I couldn't see what was going on. The picture had faded to black. Again. I clicked on a few more pictures in, and the next thing I knew, I was staring at a picture of the man holding what appeared to be surgical tools, standing over the girl with the fluorescent light shining above them. I watched at this point in utter horror as the man plunged the tool into the girl's stomach and started performing surgery on her. She was screaming in pain, and as I kept clicking, the man started yanking, tugging on the girl's insides. I threw up on the ground after watching him rip out her guts piece by piece. The scene was so bloody the man had to go off screen and get a new frame for the camera. The pictures were so vivid, so detailed, I started crying as the man got up and walked away. His work was done. A few more pictures in, it faded to black. I noticed how many pictures I'd gone through. I was on picture 995 out of 1,000. I clicked slowly now in dread of what might be waiting for me on the last picture. On picture 998, I saw a grainy photo of a young girl staring at me. Her eyes were blank, expressionless, I couldn't see much, so I went on to picture 999. I could then see what the picture was. I was face to face with Janice. Her face was covered in blood, her eyes were wide open, but with an emptiness that I knew was death. I clicked on the last photo, and all that was there was a black background with a large question mark in the center of the frame. Below it, in large white letters, was a simple question. A question that would haunt me until this very day even. Who is Janice? Officers found this document on Detective Mark Spielman's hard drive. We found this document stored on his computer along with what appears to be a note. All that the note said was, "Who is Janice?" After going over the files on his computer, we have found several documents pertaining as to who Janice may have been. From what we can gather, she was kidnapped from her family around 20 years ago. She was never found. Her parents vanished shortly after the kidnapping. Upon further investigation, officers found computer code embedded in her picture. From what we could gather, it was a bit of scrambled code in that, when deciphered, linked to a video file. However, upon viewing the video file, the investigating officers deleted it and refused to divulge what they had seen. Mark Spielman was never found, and to this day, the case has since been discontinued. Whew, that ain't your typical last episode creepypasta. No, these kind of video creepypastas relate to those random files and pictures you end up finding on the internet. Yeah, we know what we find. Honestly, I do prefer these to the standard Lost episodes because, let's be honest, this stuff is more easily applicable for us to really associate with. I mean, we've all seen some weird stuff on the internet when we were on our, special side of the internet, as you could say. Now here we have some pretty normal-ish story elements of somebody finding employment as an internet specialist, which is a real career in law enforcement and forensics when dealing with cyber crimes. As legit as finding a site as Suite 15 is, though, it's a little bit beyond me. I mean, if you put your URL as suite15.com, are you kind of not making it very obvious that, you want to get arrested? I mean, maybe our protagonist is a little slow. I don't know how they didn't find that in about 3 months of their work. The technicals behind this Janice.jpg, however, makes a little bit of sense. It's possible for a website to make 1,000 pages, which all link to the same picture file. It's not something weird like the protagonist says. In fact, I did it as a little joke in my web development class to a smaller degree in high school, so trust me, I do know my HTMLs very well. That said, though, for you to blue screen and randomly download about 1,000 pictures, it makes sense, of course, but it's like that whole virus element in the story had come and went. I mean, if you're going for technical believability, and if you're really grounding yourself in that, which, by the way, this does very well, then please at least explain every single thing going on, to a plausible extent. I don't need to hear 4 or 5 page summaries of what the virus was, just at least be a little more descriptive. I mean, it just felt like the element was tossed in and it was gone, in and out in less than a second. Now, the 1,000 pictures that our friend discovered, quickly flipped through that. If you apply the math here, though, using SMPTE format and a frame rate of 30 frames per second, I'll explain to you what this all is. It's the same frame rate that this video is playing at, by the way. It will be at about 33 seconds. Now, what I mean is that if you took those 1,000 pictures, and if you put them onto a video track while you were editing something, say, for example, and you rendered it all out as one video, at a frame rate of 30 frames per second, 29.970, which is the usual frame rate for video, 24 is film, and 60 frames per second can be for, sports or video games and whatnot. But 30 frames per second, or 29.970, would be about 33 seconds and I think 10 milliseconds and whatever. So, in 33 seconds, basically, which was those 1,000 pictures, the protagonist saw all of that. Now, it does seem pretty legit at this point. I mean, you can see some really gross stuff in about 30 seconds, so it's not like it's unbelievable. I mean, if it was a 5-second video clip that showed all that and our protagonist was throwing up everywhere, it'd be pretty unbelievable. 5 seconds goes by like that. I mean, you could see weird stuff and not get that grossed out. Now, that being said, the finale was weird. We got a message and out of nowhere our protagonist disappears. I mean, tell me I am not the only one who hates that when, a pivotal character just up and goes and just disappears out of nowhere without any big explanation. It just leaves on this arbitrary cliffhanger. I guess in the end, this creepypasta is definitely great, I gotta say. Aside from that off ending to me, it was genuinely nice, and it kind of reminded me a lot of Morbus.avi to a lesser extent. Obviously, that one is longer and more detailed, but this one was reminiscent of that. So I'm going to ask you like I always do, what would you rate it? What would you change to make it better? And what do you think about it? Let me know all that in the comment section below. And as well, share some of the creepiest stuff that you have found on the internet. This is me, Mutahar, and this has been another episode of Creepypastas. And if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.